I just saw Challengers for the second time and I have to talk about it. I have to. I literally fell asleep dreaming about it. And normally when I watch a lot of content and it like infuses my dreams, I get angry because I just want to sleep and dream about whatever my spirit want, whatever adventure my spirit wants to take me on. This time I woke up happy. I was glad. I was like, yes, let me live in the world of Challengers for as long as I possibly can. I saw it on Thursday. No, I think I saw it on Friday, and then I just saw it again on Wednesday. And there's so much to say. There's so much to talk about. There's so many levels. My sister heard so much of this last night. I truly could go on and on and on about it. But one thing I think is very interesting about the movie is the way it feels like certain folks on the internet are upset by the fact that Zendaya even is doing the role full stop. Like the fact that she's just doing a role where she makes out with two dudes. And I think it's also really cool how, this is gonna be spoilers, okay? I'm talking about the movie in detail. I think it's really interesting how in the movie you don't ever see people actually having sex. You only see kissing, and kissing is so hot. It is so hot. We all want to be doing it, and we all want to be doing it all the time. And that's just like a true fact. It is an immutable fact that we all know about. And so I just think it's really interesting the way folks are kind of attacking, criticizing her for creating a role where she's just like making out with these two dudes, even though the role itself doesn't get more, it doesn't really actually get any more explicit than that. And I was talking to my sister about the movie because famously there's a scene where the three of them are making out, and then in the movie you see she actually very intentionally orchestrates the two of them making out because she immediately clocked that there was some vibe there, and even says, I'm not gonna get in between whatever y'all have, because she had enough awareness to recognize that they had some things that they had not worked out between the two of them. So we see that she knows what's up, and because she loves to manipulate, she loves power. We love seeing a black woman in power. She just leans back and just makes these two dudes make out. She's just looking at it, loving it. But I think what's interesting is, I don't even know how much she's turned on by the making out. I think she's turned on by the fact that she was able to make them do it. And what I love about this movie is that Homegirl could have minded her business. Homegirl could have kept being the Serena Williams of that movie and minded her business, but instead, she had to mess with these two white boys. Now listen, race plays a role in this film. It's not extremely explicit, but it's there. And the first thing I thought was like, this is what happens when you mess with white men. White men, we love you. Some of you are very attractive, okay? But we know, I'm thinking of Pocahontas, which I have never seen all the way, but I've seen the meme where it's the Native American man and he's like, that white man is dangerous. And does Homegirl listen? No. And now look what happened, all right? So that's what came up for me about when I was watching this movie. And I think with all media, the true exploration is like, what's coming up for me as I watch this, you know? And what I think is interesting too is like, that first scene does sort of explain everything about the whole movie, right? Like she walks into this dynamic with these two dudes. These two dudes both know that she is not coming, AKA that she is not serious about any of them. She does not care. Her life is about tennis and being a star at tennis. She also knows that's true for her, but is playing these reindeer games and walks all in because she loves the drama. She loves the drama. What I thought was interesting too, this is what really struck me as I was watching the movie, was like, I'm so used to taking my own life very seriously and surrounding myself with people who also take their own life very seriously, right? Like they think of everything, and myself included, as like an invitational for some deep learning and awareness, for some growth, for some healing. Like everything is an invitation to transformation. There's so much self-reflection, like there's such a spiritual component. Watching this movie, I watched it twice. I highly recommend watching it twice because it reads totally different when you know what's going on with all these characters. Watching the movie, I was thinking Tashi was wearing a crucifix around her neck. Now I'm like, oh, I think that might just be the letter T. Like, I think that's literally just T for her own self, because you can tell the way these characters interact, their spirituality, like they are not out here really contemplating. And it's funny because there's a reference to Tashi meditating for an hour before she plays every game, which I think we all know is like a deeply spiritual act. It can really allow you to bring all this awareness, to bring all this presence. But I think it points to how, you know, the intention behind our actions is always the most important thing, because the intention is not for her to become, you know, to reach some state of enlightenment. She's out here trying to get better at tennis, which is all she cares about. And the first time watching the movie, I was watching it from the lens of the men who were like, obviously Zendaya, this character, very beautiful, super talented, really cool. So it's like, of course you want to be with her. And so the men are like, make out with me and like me. And she's like, literally ill. She's like, if you are not good at sports, I literally don't want you. I don't want you. There's so many lines I love in the movie. One of my favorites is when her husband and father to her child is like, I just want you to love me if I wasn't playing tennis. And she's like, what am I, Jesus? And I was like, dang, like being asked to love your own husband, not taking marriage seriously to the point where you would marry someone who you don't love, you only care about their tennis game. Like, you got a child, baby girl. There were so many levels of people just being like exactly who they were. But I think on the second watch, that character is always clear, has always been clear from the very beginning, was only ever talking about tennis. That's all she cared about. And the other two thought, I don't know what they thought, but I think they thought that somehow they were different, that their dick would somehow change her. And it never does, and it never did. It never did. I also loved all the little moments between our two main dudes. I also didn't notice the fire and ice of one having dark hair and one being blonde until the second rewatch. That never landed with me. Oh my gosh, there's the reveal. Do you remember in the scene in the beginning where he's like staring at that Dunkin' Donuts sandwich because he's hungry? And in the beginning, the first time you are on his side because you're like, oh, this poor struggling tennis player, we want him to win. And then you realize homie is rich and he's just playing games. And you're like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Eating this black woman's sandwich. Metaphor. And so the black woman who's checking him in is like, I was actually one of the like line judges when you played the US Open. And he's like, cool, but of course he's too busy eating his Dunkin' Donuts sandwich. And then, oh my gosh, okay, I saw a reel and it was a woman like doing that like Zendaya in Challengers thing, and it's mostly just her looking like back and forth and, you know, hanging out. And she would keep bringing the Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and I was like, was Dunkin' Donuts, did that play a major role in the film? And I'm like, yes, it did, and it was hilarious. But second time around, in the match where they're playing for Tashi's love, and then it ends with Patrick doing that awesome trick shot between his legs, you see that same black woman watching and admiring and really like respecting this dude in his game. And then fast forward, you see him just going to town on one of her sandwiches because he doesn't have enough money to eat real food, which is a real bummer. This is also random, but I was listening to the Las Culturistas podcast, and Matt Rogers described Patrick's shorts as nasty, just those nasty shorts he was wearing. And then on the second rewatch, I could not help but just laugh every time I saw him in those gross, they literally look like boxers that he's just wearing to play sports. The way his outfit doesn't match. So many details. But in terms of the little moments between the two main characters, the two male main characters, my favorite is the churro scene, of course. And it's specifically the moment where where Patrick's character takes his foot and brings Art's character's seat closer to him. Like just these like tiny micro moments of like, they love each other. And it's just like, I want to know what happens after they made out. Like, do they talk about it? Do they just move on with their life? Like, what happened there? I love the scene in the sauna. I love the scene in the sauna where he just comes waltzing in, swinging his dick, and is like, be easy on me tomorrow. And even Art is like, how are you this confident? And that's so attractive. Because the thing is, like, Patrick's character, he is a great tennis player. And I love this through line of like them being best friends, him being the better tennis player, and you know, the blonde guy playing percentage tennis and waiting for Patrick to mess up, which he did, and then sweeping on in there. But that's different than like actually, you know, objectively being a better player and actually winning the game. And I love that scene where he's just sitting there like, he's like basically saying like, I don't have anything to prove, really, you know? And Art's like, yeah, you do. And I think what's so interesting is that outside looking in, it's as if Art won, because of course he's married to Zendaya's character. They have a child together, Tashi. Tashi. They have a child together. They're rich, but everyone knows that one, at any point in time, Patrick could swoop in and have sex with Tashi, which is wild. And he's not actually like passionate about tennis the way Tashi is, and is not actually a better player than Patrick. So like, there was that scene where Patrick's talking to Zendaya's character Tashi and is like, coach me. I love that scene. And she's like, are you out of your mind? Goes in on him. And Patrick is like, you know your husband is dreaming about burgers and doing tennis commentary, and then says he's ready to be dead. Which is like, what? Literally a man wanting to raise his child and be with his wife is painted in this movie as a failure by all of the characters involved. Even the guy who wants to do it knows he is disappointing his wife by saying, hey, can I just love you and raise our kid? And Zendaya's character is like, I will literally leave you, bro. What do you want from me? You got a big dick and a great smile. You can get any girl you want. I'm only here to be a professional coach. Oh, I love the movie so much. I loved it so much. Oh my gosh. I love the way it was set in 2019 and how the past is really the past, you know? Like, if you're someone who's lived through those years and you have memories, you kind of know that it was like basically the same. Like, of course we have new technology and stuff, but like, it's basically the same. So to see it be like shot in this like retro nostalgia filter is very like, what? It's very like, what? And it makes me think of every movie that's set in like the 80s or the 70s. Like, for the people who lived through it, they're also like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you making it seem like that was such a long time ago? Like, that literally was yesterday. And it helped me understand too, like, the way the characters move through their life. And of course, because the movie is like goes back and forth through time, I really got this sense of like, folks are just being in their present day. Like, they don't think of it as that was 13 years ago or what's gonna happen 5 years from now. They're just in their now moment, and they're just rolling with the punches of life as they go. And I realized, oh, that's how it is for me in my life, where it's like, I'm thinking about today and tomorrow and a few years from now, but I've always been doing that. Like, that's not any different. I was doing this, I realized this because I've noticed this stress around where I'm gonna live after this lease ends here in like mid-June, so like about a month and a half from now. And I've been feeling this stress of like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Where am I gonna go? What am I gonna do? And I feel like I'm sort of walking into this unknown. And then I was reflecting on like, oh, this is exactly how I felt when I like graduated from grad school and I got my policy degree, where I was like, okay, I got the policy degree, which was ostensibly to help me get a full-time job. Now what? Like, is this place where I'm interning gonna hire me on full time? Then what? What's my plan? Like, it's that same frequency, it's just a different scenario. And so it made me realize like, oh, these characters are only ever just, I think that's what I realized too, is outside looking in, the stakes seem higher. I'm like, y'all have a family now, like, you know, you have endorsement deals, like, it's not just the three of y'all, like, making out and fighting, right? There's more on the line. But actually watching it back, I realized, no, for these characters, it's like all these other ancillary people, even their own daughter, like the way Patrick was like, he just wants to stay home and raise Lily, like trying to remember her daughter's name. That's a whole other life, a whole other person. But for these three characters, they're just playing a game between the three of them, and they're all just pawns and kind of going back and forth. And it was just shocking that some people, like, that's where they choose to live. And really realizing that it's not better or worse. I think I was judging them the first time around for being so messy. And the second time around, I was like, they're just living their life. They're just doing what they want to do. This is how they choose to do it. You can do it any way you choose, and that's how they choose to do it. And I was like, okay. You know, I don't know if it's something I'm gonna start doing, But I think that approach of just being very present, you know, in your life, and not being so hung up on what will come later, it's a good one. But I do feel like truly if Tashi had just made, well, the thing is, Tashi would have to be a different person to not have the life she is living, right? Because if she didn't love manipulating and playing games and strategy and all these things, she probably wouldn't have been the amazing tennis player that she was and the amazing coach that she was. But she also, of course, wouldn't have ended up talking with these two guys in the first place. So in this season of my life, I'm really connecting to just accepting where you are at, and that being the way forward always, because you can't get there from there, you know? So you just have to be here and move forward. And I think thinking that we are somehow different than who we are and saying that this other idealized self is better, all it does is make us feel worse about where we are and, you know, just create judgment and just make us feel small, and that doesn't ultimately support us. So yeah, I just love Challengers. I literally was watching it like, this is a classic that I'm getting to watch in theaters. Like, I felt how people who watched like The Godfather Part 2 felt when they were in theaters. They were like, dang, this is a movie. This is a film. And the score, the score alone is phenomenal. I love the way that it was so loud during conversation. I love that was like clearly like intentional, where it's like, you don't even need to necessarily know what these characters are saying, but when that beat drops while they're saying it, you know the energy has shifted, and what's happening is that they are now battling. And that's all you need to know, is that they're fighting. And there were so many lines of dialogue where I'm like, I literally didn't even catch what was said because the music was so loud and I wish there were subtitles, but it doesn't matter. We just know they're scrapping, they're mad at each other, and they're trying to hurt each other. So it was just so sexy. I loved it. All right. I also noticed for myself, orienting my life towards experiences I want to have, because I didn't have a video to put out, and I was like, I really want to be in a cafe editing. It wasn't even about the video. I was like, I just want the experience of being in a cafe on my computer, like editing a video. I just like the lifestyle of being a YouTube creator more than like any particular video that I'm making. And I've been reading Paul Selig's books, as y'all know, and a big thing is about how the change we make is through our frequency. It's not through anything we're doing or saying. It's in our actual frequency. That's what's making the change. And so for me, I used to think about my YouTube videos as like, I've got to like, you know, have this beautiful message and this beautiful insight that I'm sharing and I'm passing on, and that's the way I'm making change in the world. And I do think I've been able to make videos like that have really resonated, but ultimately I'm realizing like, no, it's not in any of the efforting or the doing, it's literally in just the vibe. And I'm like, say less, God. I will talk for approximately 17 minutes about Challengers, all right? On that note, thank you, Patreon people. I love you. I love your support. If you want some one-on-one time with me to support you in showing up on your YouTube and sharing your energy and your presence, regardless of what the actual content is about, you can put some one-on-one time on my calendar for 30 minutes for a free coaching call. Okay, bye.